Imagine coming home to find out your own parents are trying to kick you out of the house you own. That happened to me. This will make you question family, loyalty, and what a deed really means. Get ready for a betrayal you will not believe. I bought the house 2 years ago, a simple 3-bedroom on a quiet street 10 minutes from work. I put down the deposit. I signed the mortgage. The deed listed one name, mine. I let my parents stay with me after Dad's surgery. It was supposed to be 3 months, recovery, rest, and a gentle handover back to their rental. I set clear terms. No loans, no co-signing, no paperwork in their name. At first it worked. Mom cooked dinners. Dad sat in the sun and did his rehab. We found a rhythm. Then small things shifted. My mail started arriving opened. A utility bill went missing. Mom said she tossed the junk. Dad began referring to the guest room as their room. I brushed it off. Family does that. You give space. You let words slide. I kept paying the mortgage. I kept the calendar on the fridge with dates for follow-ups and the move-out target. I reminded them kindly. We will find you a place near your clinic. We will do it together. One Friday I came home and found 2 strangers in my kitchen, a real estate agent and a photographer. Mom smiled like this was normal. We are listing, she said. Prices are high. We can do better. I froze. We? Who? The agent handed me a clipboard. Owner disclosures, he said. My name was not on his sheet. My stomach dropped. The quiet life of my house was over. Something deeper was moving under my floorboards. I needed to see the papers. I needed to check every account. I needed to stop being polite. I went straight to my office and opened the fireproof folder where I keep my deed, mortgage statements, and ID. All there. My name, my signatures. I took photos of every page. Then I checked the county website. The parcel number pulled up my house with the current deed holder listed as me. Good. Next, I opened my email. 3 unread notices from the HOA sat in spam. One said new resident contact. The form listed my parents as owners. Someone had tried to change records behind my back. I walked to the kitchen with my phone recording in my pocket. Calm voice, clear questions. Who hired the agent? Mom said we did. The market is hot. You can get a condo. We need something bigger. I said, this is my house. She shrugged. Dad stared at the table and said, we have rights. We have been here more than a year. My jaw tightened. I asked the agent to step outside. He did. I told him I was the owner and I had not authorized any listing. He looked confused, then nervous. I showed him a photo of the deed. He packed his clipboard and left. Mom switched tactics. Then we will file to evict you. You work late. You are never here. We should manage the property. The word sat in the air like smoke. Evict. From my own home. I asked where she got that idea. She pulled a folded printout from her purse. Generic tenant at will language from a blog. No address, no dates, no signatures. I realized they were guessing, pushing, testing my boundaries to see if I would fold. I stopped the recording and sent it to my email. I wrote a short note to myself with time, date, and who said what. Then I set the first rule out loud. No more private conversations. From now on, every request goes in writing. No one enters this house without my consent. This ends fast or we involve the court. Mom opened her mouth. I raised a hand. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. We will sit with the papers at the dining table. Bring everything you think gives you rights. I will bring the law. At 10 a.m., I set the dining table like a small court. Bait. Mortgage statements. Property tax bills. County printout with my parcel number. A letterhead template I made the night before. My phone sat on a stand, recording with a visible red light. I kept my voice steady. We will speak once. We will speak with papers. Mom placed a thin folder down. Internet printouts. A lease template with blanks. A blurry screenshot of the HOA portal that listed her as contact. Dad slid over a bank slip. It showed he had paid 1 utility last month. He tapped the paper and said, contribution. I nodded and pushed my stack forward. Ownership. I read the deed aloud. I pointed to the county site. I showed the tax bills paid from my account. Facts settled the air. Then I laid out my plan. First, the agent. I already emailed him and the brokerage a revocation with proof of ownership. Second, the HOA. I sent the board a correction with my ID and deed. Your access is removed. Third, notice. I placed 2 letters in front of them. You are guests. Your license to stay ends in 30 days. That is the date. It is in writing. I will not accept rent. I will not accept changes to the house. Any attempt to list, lease, or alter records triggers legal action. Mom tried to argue. We built a home here. I kept it simple. You stayed during recovery. I helped because I love you. That help does not erase a deed. Dad asked, smaller now, what if we refuse to leave? I answered without heat. Then a judge will tell you. I will file for a writ of possession. I have counsel. I am ready. I handed them copies of everything. I emailed the same packet to myself and to a housing attorney I had retained by retainer the night before. Then I stood. We can spend the next 30 days finding you a place. Or we can spend the next 30 days fighting paper. I prefer the first. Day 3, the pressure started. A welfare check at 9 p.m. 2 officers at my door. Your parents say you locked them out. I showed IDs, the deed, and the guest notice. Calm voice. Clear dates. I let the officers speak to my parents on the porch. They left with a copy of my letter and a simple note. This is civil. Resolve it in court. The next morning, a locksmith arrived without an order. I asked for paperwork. None. I told him to leave. I filmed the truck plate, then emailed the clip to my attorney. I changed my locks that afternoon with a licensed vendor and saved the receipt. My lawyer filed 2 things. First, a cease and desist to my parents, the HOA, and the brokerage. Second, a prepared complaint I could file if the 30 days failed. I set a folder by the door with printed notices and a log sheet. Anyone who came to inspect met a camera and a request for documents. Most turned around. The agent sent an apology. The HOA restored my contact details and added a note to require deed checks for any future changes. Mom tried a new angle. She slid a fake lease under my door. My name was not on it. The dates were wrong. The rent was in cash. I photographed it and sent it back with one line. Fraud is a crime. Dad called that night and asked for time. I said the timeline was in writing. I reminded him I would help them find a place if they stopped games. Silence held, then he said he would talk to Mom. On day 10, I booked 3 viewings near their clinic. I drove them myself. I spoke to each landlord in plain terms. Retired couple. Fixed income. Good references from me in writing. 2 accepted. I put down holding deposits from my account with gift on the memo. I emailed confirmations and move dates. Then I sat across from my parents at the kitchen table. Choose tonight, I said, or I file tomorrow. Dad chose a ground floor unit with a sunny window. Mom stared at the table. I printed the checklist, move plan, utilities, change of address, keys. We had 20 days left. I planned every hour. The last 20 days were a grind. I kept a clipboard on the counter with dates, tasks, and receipts. I packed their room myself with them present. I made an inventory, box count, labels, photos on my phone. I logged every item they claimed as theirs and set it aside. No arguments, only lists. Mom tried to stall. She lost her ID the week we needed to sign the lease. I booked a DMV slot and drove her. We left with a temporary card. She refused to sign the tenant intake without owner approval. I asked the landlord to email the form to me and sent it back signed with a note. I am funding move-in costs as a gift. No strings, no lien, the landlord replied with a welcome and a move date. On day 15, my door camera caught a stranger trying a key. I called non-emergency. I sent the clip to my lawyer and the HOA. I changed the lock codes again. I sent a final reminder letter with the timeline and a copy of the new keys receipt. The tone stayed flat. Dates, times, consequences, help offered, help documented. We booked movers for day 28. I prepaid. I blocked the elevator. I posted a notice for neighbors. Move window 9 a.m. to noon. No street block. I set a police standby for 9:30 in case tempers rose. They did not. Dad stayed quiet and carried boxes. Mom cried in the kitchen. I made tea. I handed her a folder with copies. Lease, utilities, clinic map, a list of nearby shops, and the bus line. She did not look up. I wished them well. At noon, the truck pulled away. I walked the house. I filmed each room. I checked the windows. I checked the doors. I reset the thermostat and closed the blinds. Then I sat at the dining table and sent 2 emails. One to my lawyer, move completed, one to myself. Today I kept my home. The first night alone felt strange. Quiet rang in the halls where voices had filled the air. I walked the rooms and opened the windows. Fresh air moved through each space. I slept with the deed folder on the nightstand. Not from fear, from relief. Morning brought the last steps. I changed the locks one final time. I reset every online account. Bank, HOA, utilities. I added two-factor on all. I placed a freeze on my credit. I filed a short affidavit with the county that restated ownership and contact details. I added a note with my attorney's address for future notices. My parents sent one message on day 31, a single line from Dad. "We are settled. Thank you for the help." No other words. I replied with 2 lines. "I hope the new place feels calm. If you need anything for medical visits, text me the date. Boundaries held without heat. Love does not require access to this house. Respect does." Then I set a new rule for my life. No one lives here without a written license to occupy. Clear start, clear end. No rent. No contributions that confuse the line. I made a guest packet with house rules and emergency contacts. I placed it in a drawer by the door. I put the recording phone stand back in the office. I labeled it evidence, not for drama, for clarity. Here is what I learned. Paper protects peace when people forget lines. Keep your deed safe. Keep scans in 3 places. Monitor your records. Speak in writing. Say no early when terms drift. Help does not equal ownership. Kindness needs a fence. If this story helped you set a boundary, subscribe to Revenge Rewind. Comment with 1 step you will take to protect your home and records this week. Watch the Relationship Betrayal playlist next for more stories that turn pain into clear action.